I went to Aldi for flour and I came back with coronavirus. The other day I actually hit a new low and got rejected from a job I didn't even apply to. I've actually decided to start a second channel. Is book number 2 on the way? Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. How the hell are you doing? How am I doing? I've been getting through it, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like I can't distinguish between the days anymore. It's like we've been living the 7th of January just over and over and over again. But you know what? January is the 30-day free trial of 2021. Like, it does not count. Although I'm thinking I might cancel my subscription because I'm 2020 done. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just getting like cabin feverish. I'm claustrophobic, Darren. However, 2 good things have happened to me this month. Firstly, I ordered some chocolate-covered pretzels to come in our online food shop and they were out of stock, so they sent me a share pack and I ate the whole thing in one sitting and it was an ethereal experience. And the second exciting thing to happen this month is that we hit 250,000 subscribers. What on God's green earth? I can't even begin to imagine that many people, let alone inflicting this channel upon that many people. I'm shook. I'm honestly shook. So I basically thought to help you guys get to know me a little bit better, I would do a little Q&A. So I headed over to my Instagram stories to ask you guys what you wanted to know, and boy, you guys are nosy. So let's get on with some questions.
On tonight's program, ladies and gentlemen, we have something that's gonna make you sick.
Okay, so before we get started with today's video, I am super excited to let you know that it is sponsored by King, who are the makers of Pet Rescue Saga. And the reason I'm so excited about that is because the 2 things getting me through this lockdown have been apps and my little papa! So today I thought I would merge the 2 and get my dog to try and play Pet Rescue Saga. Let's play! Okay, Arch, so this hand for red, this hand for green. What are you thinking? Oh, red. Okay, it's not what I would have done, but sure. Green or blue? Blue, okay. Green or red? Green. I'm sensing a theme here, you know. And now yellow or green? Green? What kind of gameplay is that? Yellow or yellow? Oh, good boy, good boy. Why is the dog better at this game than I am? As you can see, the app is fun for all the family, isn't that right? And the coolest thing of all is that King are going to be donating to Battersea to help cats and dogs in need just for playing the game. Happy days, isn't that right? Okay, I will leave a link down below where you can download the app for free. I am currently on level 29, and you can join me in spending all of your time in lockdown just playing this game. But it's justified, because it's for a good cause. And I just think that is the most wholesome thing ever, and we need a bit more wholesome in our lives right now. So thank you so much, King, for sponsoring this video, and I am going to spend the rest of my week playing Pet Rescue Saga and helping the little cats and dogs while I do it. Okay, guys, who's gonna be the first person to compliment my teddy cohort? No one? Okay. Listen, in my time on this earth, I've made some questionable fashion decisions. This is one of them. But you know what? I don't care, because it feels like every single one of my limbs is being hugged and squeezed and held tightly. Would you ever want to live in a different country? Yes, 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 with icing and sprinkles and fruit on top. Actually, my original plan for my gap year, which by the way is this year, you might not have been able to tell because I can't do anything. My top tip for planning a gap year would be don't plan a gap year in a pandemic. My original plan was to be living in America from September to December, and my flight went on the 22nd of September, and I was not on it. I was meant to be doing a screenwriting course, and hopefully I'll be able to do that in the future, but I would love to live in different countries for short amount of times, I think. Initially, I moved to London in July, and I was only meant to be staying until September, and so I was kind of in the mindset that I was only going to be there for 2.5 months, and I actually found that that amount of time to be living in a city is a really good amount of time. Okay, so turns out this style of travel actually has a name, and that name is slow travel. I just thought I would add that in just in case any of you were also interested in this concept, but the general idea is that if you stay in a place for, let's say, 3 months, then you can travel a bit more off the beaten track, meet locals, you'd be able to stay in an apartment rather than a hotel or hostel, you'd be using local gyms, local supermarkets, like, you would actually get a proper experience of living in that place. And for me, I think the most important thing is the people that you meet and the recommendations that they give you and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the style of travel that I would like to do. Turns out I did not actually invent it. So hopefully when the world goes a bit more back to normal, I'll be able to live that fantasy. One day I would love to live in Japan for a bit, in Sri Lanka, in India, in Spain, or somewhere in South America. Like, there are just so many places that are on my bucket list, but the bucket list, it's been put away in a drawer for now. Is book number 2 on the way? No. I'm not currently working on anything. I definitely think if I wrote another book, which, by the way, still feels stupid to say another book, but my first book was non-fiction, but in the future I'd love to write fictional books. Like, that's the end goal, is to write fiction. I say this all the time, but I genuinely just think I haven't lived properly enough yet. Like, in order to write good fiction, I think I need to meet a myriad of people and visit beautiful, fascinating, amazing, interesting places, and I've got so much more I want to see before I think I could even begin to put pen to paper, if that makes sense at all. So hopefully one day, but not anytime soon. Do you struggle with YouTube content now that you've finished uni? I think I definitely had a crisis, and now it kind of feels like we're out the other end, and I'm really loving the content that I'm making at the moment. It requires quite a lot of research and reading, and I kind of love that. You know, I think it's really taught me a lesson that when you first try and branch out into something new and go outside of your comfort zone, go outside of what you're used to and the people who watch you are used to, it's really scary at first, and initially it may not feel like anyone cares, but the more you try new things, the more you find that audience, you find the audience who will love that really niche content, and that's what's so cool. Actually, I do have one other thing to say, and this is really exciting. I've actually decided to start a second channel. It's called Jack in the Books, and I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to go and subscribe and join me over there. So the idea is that this second channel will be much more imperfect and raw and chatty. So the idea is that the videos won't really have very much editing, or if there is editing, it will be very minimal, just so that it kind of has the vibe of sitting down and chatting with a friend about all sorts of things, and then the content that I put on this channel will be the stuff that I really research for and the stuff that I spend a lot of time editing and making and putting together. So yeah, go and give that a little subscribe if you fancy it, and there should be 2 videos up on that channel already. For me right now on this channel, it's such an exciting time to be trying new content, and I have so many plans. I'm currently working on so many different videos behind the scenes. I'm currently reading all of the books that BTS have recommended, as well as Arabic literature, and I'm just living my best life. You choose looks, I choose books. How do you stay productive? I feel like a year ago I would have had an answer to this question, but post-pandemic, I don't even know anymore. If anyone has any tips, please let me know. Where did you disappear to for 4 weeks? We missed you. Well, I kind of got coronavirus, and it was grim. It was genuinely the worst thing ever. The thing is, I knew it would be bad, but I feel like as young people, our biggest concern has always been, I don't want to catch it because I don't want to pass it on to anyone who could suffer really badly. Little did I know that I would be the one to suffer really badly. I don't know what happened, I just got a really bad case of it. I literally spent 4 days in that bed, I could not get out of it. If there is a symptom of COVID-19, I had that symptom, and it comes in waves. I tested positive on the 10th of January. I'm filming this on the 28th, and this is the first day that I don't feel completely breathless. I just feel quite breathless. So I finished my quarantine and self-isolation period, but I still haven't left the house anyway. In fact, I hadn't even left the house in the first place. From Christmas to the 10th of January when I tested positive, I had not left the house at all, aside from one time to go to Aldi, and this is what happened. And let me just tell you, I'm mad. These influencers in Dubai are fine, and little old me caught COVID in Aldi. Obviously, there's no way of knowing exactly where and when you caught it, but like that's the only place I had been to in 2 weeks before I caught it. And the reason for that is because when I hit 250k, I was like, right, we need to go extra. And so I bought a cake tin where you could make numbered shaped cakes. So I'm thinking this will be a nice way to celebrate. This is something to do in lockdown. And so I went to the supermarket to get my supplies. I went to Aldi for flour, and I came back with coronavirus. So I would like a refund on 2021. That was rough. And actually, when the NHS phoned me, which by the way was a lot, they were making my hotline bling like 3 times a day. So when the NHS phoned me and they asked me what were my symptoms and who had I seen in the last 2 weeks, I literally said to them, I have only seen my parents and I've only been to the supermarket. And the lady said to me on the phone that apparently that's becoming increasingly common, that people are just catching it literally from the supermarket. So she said her tip was to wipe down your food when you get in and make sure you sanitize after you leave the supermarket. But I just can't believe it. But we're better now, we're on the road to recovery. But yeah, that's why I disappeared for like 4 weeks, because I was suffering. Would you ever teach? I actually did have a job as an English teacher in China 2 years ago, in 2019, and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. Like the lesson planning and watching the kids like learn and develop, it was just so fulfilling. I don't know if I'm tough enough to do it full time. I feel like if I tried to shout at a student and then they shouted back at me, I would be like, I'm so sorry, I'll do homework for you from now on. Don't worry about it, everyone makes mistakes, please don't be horrible to me. I also think that having a YouTube channel doesn't really lend itself very well to ending up being a teacher, so I don't think it's necessarily a career path that I will go down anytime soon, but maybe like later on in life when I'm older, it's definitely something that I would consider for sure. Have you picked up any new hobbies in lockdown? Hope you're keeping well. Probably complaining, watching television, watching films. I've played a lot of apps like Pet Rescue Saga. I've read more books than I can count. Overeating, overdrinking, overspending despite not leaving the house. I mean, the answer to your question is no. Music you've been loving. You know when you rediscover an album, I recently just have been obsessed again with SZA's album Control. What an album, man. Okay, I'm looking at my recently saved songs. The Flood by Oliver Hazard has me feeling all the feels. Cloud 9 by Sam and Sounds. Bad Texter by Ryan Woods, very relatable. A song called Bummerland by AJR. Are We Having Any Fun Yet by Larkins. Blind by Role Model, what a tune. I've also been listening to the 1975's first album and Acting My Age by The Academic. What are your favourite Netflix shows? I have just finished watching The Crown and also The Queen's Gambit, which were both phenomenal. Dairy Girls, I binged both seasons in one sitting. Okay, this isn't on Netflix, but It's a Sin is just the most heartbreaking thing you will ever watch, and I would highly recommend. It's all about when AIDS and HIV first became an issue in the UK, and it is so well written. Please go and watch that. Do you work anywhere? I mean, guys, I'm not gonna lie, the job hunt has not been going particularly well. The other day, I actually hit a new low and got rejected from a job I didn't even apply to. I got an email from this company who I've never sent a CV to, rejecting me from a job. Yeah, it's really not going very well. However, in the meantime, I have been trying to keep myself busy, so I volunteer as a social media manager for a charity called African Development Choices. And also, since I would say the end of November, I have been interning as a celebrity PA. So I'm basically a personal assistant to a well-known UK TV star. Obviously, for privacy reasons, I can't tell you who, but it's been such an interesting insight into the entertainment industry, and yeah, it's keeping me busy. So, I actually have a bit of an update since I filmed the rest of this video. Actually, on the day that I recorded the rest of this video, I had literally just found out that I had been rejected from this job that I really wanted. I'd been interviewing for it since the beginning of December, so it was a really long process. I had 4 interviews, and the final one, I got to the final stage, was with the managing director of the company, and they decided to go for the other candidate. So, you know, it is what it is. It was an amazing experience. I mean, not that amazing, because like I didn't get the job, but it was okay. So yeah, I was obviously a little bit gutted about that, but rejection is redirection, and I actually now have a job, a proper job. And that job is as a research assistant for a job that is coming out in the future. So I'll basically get to be a part of the behind the scenes of this book coming together, and it's such an amazing project and I feel really pumped to be a part of it. So yeah, I now actually do have a job. Surprise! Life comes at you fast, huh? For me, for where I'm at in my life right now, doing a research assistant role is actually perfect because firstly, if I do ever decide to apply for a master's, then it will be very beneficial to my application at some point in the distant future, not anytime soon. And secondly, because I would really love to pursue a career in publishing, but I've been applying for jobs in publishing for like 5 months now, and it's just so hard to crack into that industry without having much relevant experience. So this is literally relevant experience. So basically I'm doing what I've got to do to get me into the right position to get my dream job in the future. But this is pretty good for now. I'm pretty chuffed. A novel that you want to read throughout your lifetime. Okay, I can think of a couple off the top of my head. So definitely War and Peace and Les Mis. A Little Life I've heard mixed reviews about. Do you know what, guys? I have big book fear. I don't read big books. Some people like big books and they cannot lie. But for me, I just don't think I've got the patience. I like concise books. If it's more than 350 to 400 pages, I'm getting the fear. But one of my goals for 2021 is to read some big books because I do tend to avoid them, and that does me so dirty in Zoom quizzes. When there's a literature round, everyone is like, here we go. And then it's about a big book and I'm like, I haven't read it. What books have you read so far in 2021? Let me find my Goodreads reading challenge and I will tell you. Okay, so The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This broke my heart into tiny pieces, like it's still shattered all over the floor, and I enjoyed every second. It was brilliant. It's kind of a retelling of mythology and it focuses on Achilles' personal life. Kim Jae-young, born in 1982. This is a book all about the female experience in South Korea. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I had to get around to reading this one day. The Vanishing Half is exquisite. My compliments to the chef. Gold Dust by Ibrahim Al-Koni. This is one of the Arabic books that I'm reading in translation for a YouTube video. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. The Duke and I, which is the first Bridgerton book by Julia Quinn. You will know my thoughts on this book if you have seen my most recent YouTube video. And I just finished A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway this morning. This next question says, how does it feel being YouTube's resident librarian? I love that for me. If I put that on my CV, will you mind? Are you still friends with your housemates from uni? Yes, absolutely, love them to pieces. This question says, how good is your eyesight? I think a better question would be how bad, because let's just say that if one of the 3 blind mice ever decided to do a Zane and go solo, I could replace them. My prescription is plus 8.25 in one eye and plus 8.75 in the other eye, so yeah, not great. You know, I actually didn't realise quite how bad it was until one time this lovely, lovely company very kindly offered to send me a free pair of glasses, and I was absolutely buzzing my tits off. And what I forgot is that when I go to the optician, I have to have my glasses thinned so that they are not really, really chunky. And I kind of forgot to ask about that, and so when the glasses came, I kid you not, the lens was about this thick. So the lens was poking out each side of the frame, and when I tried to put them on my face, they just kept sliding off because they were too heavy for my nose to carry. So yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but I guess on this channel people don't really realise because I always wear contact lenses, so yeah, that's me. Okay, last question. This one says, when are you going to get a haircut? That's a dead trim. Thank you, sir. That is so kind of you to say. Listen, I know, but all the barbers are closed, and did you see what happened last time I tried to do my own hair? That was not pretty, and I can't go back to that place. So it looks like we're in this one for the long run. You know, back in like mid-December before we went into lockdown again, I'd been growing out my hair so that I could try a new style, so I booked in to go and see a stylist, which was really expensive, by the way. You know, I thought I would treat myself as a Christmas present, so I turn up to this bougie salon, sit down for my consultation with the stylist, and I'm like, hey, so I kind of want a change of look. And you know what he said to me? He said no. He said no! He was just like, no, sorry, I can't do that, so I'll just cut your hair like normal. Which I could have had done for a quarter of the price elsewhere. So don't blame me for the dead trim, blame that man. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you've got to know me a little bit better and you don't, you know, hate me. Thank you once again for 250,000 subscribers. I have to say, next time we hit a milestone, I will not be baking a cake because it didn't end so well for me this time, but I appreciate every single one of you more than I can ever explain. Also, of course, a massive shout out to King, who are the makers of Pet Rescue Saga. Firstly, because I've been playing that game constantly, and secondly, because I think what they're doing is just so amazing, literally just from playing the app, which is so fun. The more you play, the more they're donating to Battersea to commemorate Battersea's 160th year of saving cats and dogs, and it's all just so pure. So yeah, the link will be down below. Thank you so much, King, for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.